Hello and welcome to Grocer Pod. My name is Sean Kasednar. We have a great show for you today. David Smith talks with Nick Nickitas from Rosie about the importance of online shopping and why you need to make sure that you have an online shopping platform for your customers. Before we get to that though, I do want to remind you to like and subscribe Grocer Pod wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts, you can find Grocer Pod. If you subscribe, then new episodes can be downloaded for you automatically, and you won't have to go searching for them. If you're not a huge podcast listener and Grocer Pod's the only one that you listen to, A, thank you. B, I think the easiest way to find the show is at awgsaleservices.com. You can go there, listen right on your computer, and that's probably going to be the easiest way for you to listen to the show. Now, today, like I was saying, David Smith is going to talk with Nick Nickitas from Rosie about online shopping. We have talked so many times on the show about how important online shopping is. It is not an option anymore. You need to have it. Going into 2022, if you don't have an online shopping platform, your customers are going someplace else. It is something that they expect, and it's not just for the national chains. Single store operators can absolutely have a great online shopping platform. Nick is going to show how Rosie can help you with that and the steps that you need to do to implement this crucial service going into 2022. So here's David and Nick.
Well, welcome everyone. This is David. I'm very excited today. I have with me Nick Nickitas. He's the founder and CEO of Rosie, one of our partners. And Rosie's theme is grocery shopping made easy. And they certainly are a pleasure to do business with and a pleasure to assist our member retailers. Nick, thank you for joining me.
Thanks so much, David. It's great to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a lot of things have happened since you and I last were together for a podcast, and we were just about knee deep in the beginning of the pandemic at that point. So there's been a lot of things that's happened, but out of that, there's been a tremendous amount of learning. And that's the reason that it's good for us to get back together today. And I guess as you are thinking about the business and thinking about Rosie and your relationship with member retailers, what would you say is the most significant change or improvement that Rosie and your retail partners have made in the past 18 months?
Yeah, well, I would say that, so right now it is obviously, it's super competitive out there. You've got Walmart, Amazon, Target, Kroger. They're all doing an amazing job. And what they're really nailing is that omni-channel customer experience, right? No matter where the shopper is, if they're at home, on the go, or in the store, you can have a consistent experience with those key retailers. And the retailers that are nailing that consistent digital experience, no matter where the shopper is, they're the ones that are seeing those 20%, those double-digit growth rates year over year in digital. So they're capturing the lion's share of the market. I'd say the biggest thing that we're seeing right now is we're enabling retailers to offer a Kroger-like or a Walmart-like experience for their own store. So I would say a big improvement is having that retailer have a single front-end grocery application for a website, for mobile app, for e-commerce, making it super easy for that shopper to engage with the retailer no matter where they are. The other big thing that has been a huge improvement over the last year is grocers working on their fresh and ready and catering offerings online. So I think that the pandemic had a lot of shoppers that, they could no longer order takeout. They couldn't go to some of those places where they would normally solve the problem of what's for dinner. And so we saw more and more of these grocers lean on our capabilities for, putting party pans and platters online, or maybe a ready to heat or ready to eat meal for the family. So you're seeing grocers, I think, get a lot more sophisticated in their fresh and ready offering, which is great because number one, it differentiates them from the big chains. But number two, those are some of the more profitable areas of the store. So I would say those are areas of improvement. The last one I'd probably talk about where there's still room to improve is on out of stocks and the supply side. I think wholesalers have actually, and the supply chain have been taking a lot of heat, but I actually think some of this is actually going on at retail. Like, I think when retailers look at their out of stock numbers, they'll say, well, it's kind of hard to run a grocery store if you don't have groceries on the shelf. But I think from looking in the data, what we're seeing is that some retail store teams are actually embracing digital programs more than others. And there's actually retailers within the same cooperative that have varying out of stock rates, or stores within the same retail banner with different out of stock rates. And that indicates to us that it's not as much a supply issue, although those issues definitely do exist. Some of it's just store associates or e-commerce pickers not substituting out of stock items in the order. And there's a high correlation between out of stocks and churn. So it's something for definitely to watch out for when you're looking at how to keep customer count up and drive order flow. You got to be making sure you're substituting wherever you can. So that's a big deal.
Well, I think you're exactly right. All three of them are a big deal. And on the supply side, it is real. It's, they're dealing with it every day. We're dealing with it every day. And it's, I think we've worn out the use of the word unprecedented in the last 20 months. So we can't continue to use that, but it is crazy. And we do see, as you said, Nick, huge differences as far as on performance based on behavioral changes, which are more localized. And so there is some positive, and we're certainly hammering away every day to try to make the supply side things easier. But I do want to just reiterate the importance of a couple of things that you said. One, that exactly how consumers have embraced buying how they want, when they want, and the opportunity for independence, like the members of our cooperative, to leverage what they're really, really good at. And that is those fresh offerings, it's prepared foods. Those are all differentiating factors. Those are things that are normally much more unique than the CPG products that end up in the shopping list. And being able to translate that into that overall shop is going to have certainly very durable effects on the long-term shopping. So staying in your mind about things that you've kind of learned as it relates to the grocery consumers' buying habits and those modes of shopping, like you're talking about, that are the components of omni-channel. What do you think will continue on a similar trajectory? What do you think that they will be wanting to do more of? And what do you think they will do less of?
So, look, what I always think of is what are things that are stable through time so that we can make good long-term investments? And as grocery retailers and as vendors, how can we plan to invest and capitalize on those trends? There are three things that are super stable that shoppers are always going to want. I know this. I'm going to predict the future right now. I know this for a fact. There are three things that shoppers will always want. They're always going to want lower prices. They're always going to want more convenience, right? And they're always going to want more selection. I've never walked into a grocery store and say, I want to pay more, I want to have less selection, and I want to stand in a long line. We know that shoppers want convenience, they want selection, and they want price. And so those trends are going to continue. They've been happening for the past 30 years, 50 years, and they're going to continue long into the future. And so I think a lot of what grocers are doing right now are trying to line up against those trends. How do we get more effective on price? How do we offer more than just the inventory we have in store? And how do we offer more convenient options to fulfill, whether it's online grocery shopping or mobile self-checkout? There's like a whole rush right now to get more self-checkout in these stores, not just to address the labor issue, but to make things more convenient. I think the other big shift, David, that is happening in our industry, and I think there's a level of sophistication that is growing around this, is that the shopper, there is not an online shopper and an in-store shopper. There's not a digital shopper and a physical in-store shopper. The shopper's behavior changes week to week, month to month, and sometimes they're shopping online and sometimes they're shopping in store based on the things that are going on in that shopper's life. And so I think that early on, grocers saw digital as maybe, got to do it. It's a loss leader. I've got to spend money in this area. Otherwise, I'm going to lose customers to my competitors. But I think now, right to win and right to serve those shoppers is coming into question as these shoppers are like, I want this store experience to fit around my life.
So, Nick, what are the most significant challenges that you see facing grocers as it relates for digital sales and fulfillment?
Yeah, I would say the biggest challenge that the industry is facing, David, is that as if you're a large chain or one of the national chains or online marketplaces, you've got effectively your unlimited capital resources, your capital unconstrained. You can have large digital and social media and marketing teams where you can amortize the cost of these digital investments across many locations. And actually build the internal structure to support these efforts. I think the challenge that the independent grocer faces, particularly the single store operator or the small chain, less than 5 locations, is that you've got to offer a comparable experience. You've got to have website, e-commerce, mobile app. You've got pharmacy. You've got in-store applications, mobile self-checkout, and then you've got all the back-end tools that support that: payment processing, weekly ad, digital coupons, rewards, data management, pricing. It's just very challenging for an operator to manage all those different vendors, all those different roadmaps, all those different cost structures and business models, and try to rationalize how they're going to achieve an ROI. And I think that what you're seeing is like a tech arms race being driven by the largest chains. So I think that the challenge that the retailers have is that they're going to have to start to aggregate around some solutions that can do it all for them. That can do, instead of having like the menu of all the options, really aggregating around some stronger providers that can emerge to help them make sense of an increasingly complex digital landscape. So one of the ways I think that grocers can best overcome those challenges is through their wholesaler partnerships. Like, I think one of the things that the wholesalers are really well positioned to transform into are being these innovation laboratories where they can basically look at the best companies across a variety of different spaces, pick some winners, or maybe have a selection, a smaller group of vendors that are kind of pre-approved and have been vetted, and then make sure, most importantly, that all those providers work well together in the sandbox so the retailer doesn't have to figure it out. The retailer's got so much going on at store level, whether it's labor issues, pricing issues, having to transform that physical environment, continue to maintain those service levels around fresh deli meat that customers have grown to know, love, and respect. I think there's an opportunity for aggregation in a way that we haven't seen before, and I think the wholesaler is going to function more than just a method of driving down cost of goods. I think it's going to be a method of accelerating innovation and making it manageable for that operator.
I can't agree more. It's certainly one of our missions to do more together and to help them be able to eliminate as much redundancy as possible. I wholeheartedly agree. So can you cite success stories that you have through Rosie of seeing where retailers really have grasp what they need to be doing and have just passionately, adopted it? And you would say, if this guy can do it and do it very, very well, any independent can. Do you have success stories that you can cite?
Yeah, I've got a few that I just wanted to call out. So one would be Geisler's. They're a 7-store operator. They just got selected IGA Retailer of the Year. They're based in Connecticut and Massachusetts. And with Geisler's, they use Rosie, our digital engagement platform, in concert with AppCard for rewards and digital coupons, as well as Rourke for their point of sale system. And all of the systems work together in harmony. So it's they are able to provide this completely seamless experience from in-store to online, so that shopper can accrue points, can redeem digital coupons, can have that same experience in-store through the lane, and have all the systems work together. And the retailer didn't have to spend time figuring it out. The partners really work together to drive down the cost and ultimately deliver this amazing experience. So it's super fun to see Geisler is being recognized now by the community of IGA retailers in the United States and around the world, kind of leveraging one of these combined ecosystem products. So I think that's a great case study I would share. I think Arlen's Market, they're a retailer in Texas that we work with. They switched to our platform, and we work with a company called Shop to Cook, which provides their website and their kiosk program. And just the ability to have those, they were like, look, we need to have this all work together seamlessly. Can you figure it out? And we were like, great. We've had Shop to Cook, who's going to take care of the website and the kiosk. We've got Truno, who's going to take care of your point of sale system and make sure item sync and order injection works easily. So we got them up and running at all of their stores, and now they're launching with our store branded mobile app as well. And this is a retailer, by the way, David, who in the height of the pandemic, when HEB was having trouble fulfilling orders and shutting down some of their online shopping, Arlen's was picking up that business and continuing to grow. And so, lots of retailers out there, but those are two examples I would call out of just these independents that are they're really succeeding and nailing it. But even I don't want you to think that the success stories are just the chains. I mean, we've got examples like Dash's Market, a 4-store group in Buffalo, New York, or Susanville IGA in California, where these smaller operators are leveraging technology in an integrated way to deliver a best-in-class experience to their community that puts them on a level playing field with the national chains and online marketplaces. So it feels super good to see these guys out there winning in the marketplace against the big boys.
I absolutely agree. Well, that's fantastic. So, as grocery in a digital way is certainly here to stay, can you share some progress that you see being made to lower this cost to serve through that fulfillment piece? Because that's the part that most independents are very concerned about, is the fulfillment, and especially if they're doing delivery, they would like to have the sales especially if they believe that some part of them are incremental, but they really worry about the cost of fulfillment. Where are you seeing progress being made on that cost to serve?
Yeah, this is a super big focus for us because I think that you can't just have top line growth. You've got to also match it with bottom line growth. And on that front, we're doing a lot of work with our retailers around profitability. I'm going to open up my toolbox and share with you I think the 4 main levers for driving profitability for these grocers that we're seeing being effective right now. The first is around labor. I think that there's a lot of opportunity for improving the way that we measure and understand labor for these orders. We're doing a lot. We've instrumented the entire picking process. So we're getting more and more accurate data around how long it's taking to shop each one of these orders. And we're encouraging our retailers to be reviewing this information on a store level every week and with leadership every month. We have national data across all of our retailers. So we've got a pretty good idea how long it takes to shop one of these online orders. And by leveraging that data set, we can tell retailers where they are performing anonymously relative to other independent grocers across the U.S. It's a huge advantage of our platform because now a grocer can say, why are our labor numbers so skewed versus others? Our top performing retailers are seeing labor numbers in the 7 to 8% range. I think for a lot of retailers, 12% has got to be the goal, but what gets measured gets improved. They got to focus on the measuring those minutes per item on those orders and trying to drive out of stocks down. The second big area that we're driving improvement for our retailer partners and profitability is around supplier contribution. We're on track to deliver 1% of sales back to our retailer customers over the next 24 months annually as part of suppliers who are contributing to the success of the program. So the way this works, David, is we work with top brands like Kraft Heinz, Tyson Foods, Johnson & Johnson, Georgia Pacific, Boar's Head, Nestle Purina, and many, many others who want to do nationally syndicated campaigns through independents. Now, there's no effort on part of the retailer. We will syndicate this offer and the retailers can choose to opt out. But if they stay in, they get compensated for every click and acquisition on their site. Now, there are over 275 categories online that can be merchandised. And so if a retailer is not doing merchandising on that area of the site, it's just a great opportunity to pick up some additional contribution. And ultimately, it's good for the brands because they're getting data that they can't get anywhere else, and they're helping to drive the needle for the retailers. The last 2 areas I would spotlight in terms of driving the profitability numbers for retailers that are in the e-com channel. One is around digital merchandising. I think that most retailers historically, when they launch their e-commerce site, it looks exactly the same as the day they set it up. It doesn't change. But what drives sales, what drives that kind of consistent usage from customers is variability. So if you look at the top websites on the web, whether it's Twitter or whether it's Facebook, they're habit forming because they change. And so grocers can, just like they reset their in-store environment with specials and different end caps, you can create digital end caps to drive sales. We had a grocer that increased their Easter sales by 200% because of using these digital merchandising panels to highlight events on social media and link them back to the site. We saw another retailer that did over 10% of their Thanksgiving turkey order volume through their online shopping site, which is like a totally number blew them out of the water from what they'd ever seen before because they were leveraging these digital merchandising tools. And I would say the last opportunity in terms of driving profitability, again, one that is often overlooked, but I'm going to say it over and over and over again, and it is private label, private label, private label. Private label products, when they're in the store, I think the traditional marketing tactic is, well, let's put an exclusive brand or a generic product next to one of these national brand products, and the customer will choose the lowest price. But what isn't happening is we're not telling the story about what's unique about these products. We actually have to help inform the customer about why they should be trying these new products that maybe they haven't had in their basket before. Online is perfect for telling those stories. You can bring together private label products and put it around messaging or highlight it in social media or email marketing and introduce them to the full family of products in a way that you can't do in store. You can bring together different temperature classes. You can build recipe ideas around those exclusive brands. So if you combine labor, supplier contribution, next-gen digital merchandising, and private label, I think retailers are going to continue to be able to be delighted around how they're building profitability for e-com.
Yeah, absolutely. Boy, you said a mouthful. I think that, and you hit on all the cylinders. You know, you start thinking about, you've already talked about kind of the seamless shopping experience with your Geisler's example, and now you're talking about kind of best in class practices to keep things fresh and exciting, and taking the same thinking of where our merchants are walking their sales floor of their store to keep things fresh and exciting, using that in a digital space. And it makes such fantastic sense. You know, we see several strategies implemented by the bigs designed to capitalize on where they see the future of grocery buying. They're making big bets. Target, Walmart, Amazon, Kroger, all the companies you named earlier. The various components include enhancing the appeal of traditional in-store shopping, of course, in a different way. Buy online, pick up in-store, different type of strategy. Buy online and pick up curbside. Buy online for home delivery. Buy online for lockers that they're positioning throughout. Buy online for the ship to home, such as what's really more like the legacy Amazon type business. Micro fulfillment centers supplementing the retail stores for some level of product. Macro fulfillment centers like Kroger is using with the Ocado sheds. Boxed with alternate strategies that look a little bit like a club, but it's totally online. A lot of things going on here. So the question then is, how do you envision retail success for independents? Where should they be, going back to what you talked about in the very first? You were talking about making meaningful investments that are going to be sustainable, provide the ROI, and be complementary to their entire business, to where it's not an add-on, but it's integrated and it's integral to their success. Where do you see this business going, and what are those strategies that independents should be investing in, Nick?
If I was working for an independent retailer right now, or I was working for AWG as your chief digital officer, the way I'd think about it is I'd put it all down into two buckets. It'd be seamless omni-channel experience and automation. I'm going to start with automation because I think it's probably going to be the most transformative part of our industry over the next 5 to 10 to 15 years. We're going to see automation touch every single part of grocery. And we're seeing the beginning of this. I had an opportunity a few weeks ago to check out some autonomous delivery vehicles across a few different companies. And I think a lot of people look at autonomous vehicles and they say, well, that's just so far-fetched. That's in the future. It's never going to happen. And what I would say to you is that the approach that seems to be emerging around these autonomous delivery drivers, and this is just as important for last mile as it is for warehouse trucking, is that they're going to use autonomous vehicles to drive autonomously while they're on the highway. while they're in the stuff where the autonomous system works really well. And then when the drone gets stuck or the truck gets stuck, they're going to ask for a remote pilot who doesn't necessarily need to be in the vehicle, who may be operating multiple different pieces of equipment around the country, around the world at once to operate that vehicle. That's the future. And when you think of it that way, like instead of having one trucker that has to go all around the country, where you have a trucker who's at a battle station who's remotely piloting these trucks as they are coming off the highway and docking, or a last mile that's, a small battery operated robot that can do delivery within 3 to 5 miles, and that handles those routes autonomously until it gets stuck, maybe in an accident or traffic. You start to see how quickly the data sets are going to grow, and last mile in trucking is a solution that's going to get solved through automation. I think the same thing is going to happen around e-commerce. As I said, top performing stores right now are seeing labor rates of 7 to 8% when they're picking at retail. Most of the market is somewhere between, call it 12 and 15%. If you want to get below 7%, you got to be picking out of a micro fulfillment center. And so, when you ask about what is one of the roles that AWG could be playing, I think multi-tenant micro fulfillment centers is super interesting, right? Like, instead of building massive warehouses, are there retailer sites or dark stores that could serve multiple independent retailers in a 1-hour geography? Now, maybe it doesn't make sense for every area, but I think there definitely are some economies of scale. When you consider that these MFCs are now going for somewhere between 2 and 3.5 million and have a serviceable lifespan of 10 to 15 years with a payback in 3, it becomes pretty obvious. Like, if you think e-commerce is going to be an important part of your business, how do you take that variable labor cost out and turn it into a robotic facility? So automation is going to be transformative. And the retailers that are able to bring automation in their business, maybe not as the early adopter, but kind of the soon after, they're going to find their cost structures dramatically transformed. And I would just also say that, mobile self-checkout is a form of automation. It's a way of starting to move away from checkers at the front of the store to find a less expensive way to do fulfillment, to have shoppers checking themselves out. So let me pause there for a second. Any before we talk about seamless omnichannel, anything that's kind of triggering your mind, David, around how automation and how you're thinking about it for AWG?
Yeah, so that's exactly where we're at. We are, we're currently doing our pilots, which are our initial MFCs that we're building. We did partner with Takeoff for those. So we're constructing those. The idea is to learn from the experience ourselves internally. And then after we assist our members in opening up those with individual companies, having that multi-tenant operation, we absolutely believe that is the future, because having that service and then doing the top-off order from that unique location and sharing that infrastructure, it makes all the sense. There's very few markets where we can rely on a single operator to be able to run MFCs and to be able to do it efficiently, because it's this throughput, right? You've got to have the volume in order to drive the cost down. But we have a tremendous opportunity to have lots of markets and multiple locations in larger markets where they're sharing them. And we do see that as a role for us. So you're exactly right, Nick. It is a part of we feel like a part of the role that we have to play to supplement what they're doing. So yes, we're sold.
And what's super cool about the work that you guys are doing with MFCs and others is that, like, eventually we're going to go from micro fulfillment centers to nano fulfillment centers, right? Yeah. And we're going to figure out how to shrink the size of that MSV box, or even make it more customizable to better tailor to the needs of a given trade area. So, automation is going to be transformative. And then the second thing that I think that, where retail success has got to be for independents is around omni-channel experience. Again, it's what I often talk about with retailers. It's something that we do at Rosie is we go out and we actually shop. We shop like a dozen competitor stores. We'll use Kroger, we'll use Amazon, we'll use Whole Foods, we'll check out Sprouts, we'll check out all of these different, we'll use Instacart, we'll use Shipt, we'll use all these different solutions. We'll actually go and buy orders in a given market. We'll place an order and drive a car up and pick up the order. And we do that because we want to know what it feels like as a shopper to experience that solution. And I think too often we think, well, we got to check the box. I've got to have this, 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 and this. But then we never actually experience it the way that our shoppers do. And so the challenge I would put out there, and I think this is the strategic imperative, it goes back to your question around how do you envision success, is that as more and more of these digital solutions come online, trying them out from this perspective of the customer, building them around the shopper journey, as opposed to maybe what we think the shopper needs, actually experiencing it as a guest. You probably wouldn't be surprised how many executive teams out there right now across the country at retail are operating online shopping, but have never actually used it.
Yeah, true.
Hard to make really good decisions when you haven't tried it out and understand what you're doing versus what your competitors are doing. So I think, like, just again, starting with the shopper experience, building that to be seamless across the board is where it's really at. But what gives us a lot of encouragement is, and what gets us super excited is the energy and passion of these grocers. They're just able to adapt so much faster than some of the larger chains, and they've got very valuable real estate very close to the end customer. So if we can help them on their digital transformation, they're in just an amazing place to innovate and adapt to their trade area to offer just something truly unique in the marketplace. So it's just really excited to be part of that journey.
I agree 100%. They have reputational equity in the neighborhoods that they serve. They're known for having the best meats and the best this and the best produce, and they already have a great service reputation, and they're known for being really integral in understanding their customer, giving them the tools then to leverage that reputational equity and use that as another differentiator in Omni-Channel. I think is a fantastic combination. And I'm betting on what you're betting on. I'm betting that independents can figure it out, and that they're going to be able to not only survive, but thrive in the digital world. But what we're seeing is we're seeing them learn and adapt and improve at every step. And I think it's an exciting journey. I'm so thankful that you've, you could be doing, with your talent and with your intellect, you could be doing all kinds of things, Nick. But I'm very proud that you chose to get into a business and work with independent grocers and help them be able to do this. And that goes a long way. We're doing the same thing for the same people.
Thank you, David. I mean, look, what I love about this industry, what is so cool is, like, what other business can you be able every day be thinking about construction, finance, marketing, accounting, strategy, technology, all of these different disciplines where you're building software that lives online but also exists in the physical world, and just mountains of data to be able to create these unique personalized experience for guests. Like, there's just no other industry in the world that has all of those different touch points, and to be having front row seats as the entire industry changes its cost structure, its service levels, its automation, it's embracing automation and data. It's just an incredibly exciting time to be in the grocery industry. And, at the end of the day, though, this is such an awesome people business. No matter whether it's retailers, store associates, suppliers, wholesalers, vendors, I'm always amazed at just the caliber of people and how warm everyone is. It's such a big industry, but it feels like you can get to know everyone so quickly. And that's just gotten me excited about it, and our team as well. So thanks for saying it.
Yep, it's all true. Well, thank you for being with me today. I know this is going to be a dynamite episode, and everybody will love to hear from you in the update. There's some real nuggets here of value for everybody, and thank you.
Thank you, David. Appreciate being here. Looking forward to the next time.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Nick. And thank you all for listening to this episode of Grocer Pod. We're going to try to start ramping up and getting some episodes out there a little bit more often going into the new year. So be on the lookout for that. We have a lot of really interesting new things that we're going to try on Grocer Pod. I'm really excited to be able to tell you about them once they're ready to launch. So until next time, this has been Sean Kasadnar for Grocer Pod.